Hello, welcome everybody. A huge welcome to today's Wolfgang webinar, Your Traffic is Falling, the AI Search Tipping Point. There has been a huge amount of interest in this topic. So actually over 1,000 of you have registered for this one today. So we are so happy to just get the chance to share some of our insights on the subject, and hopefully it's helpful for some of you as we navigate this crazy period we're going through at the moment. I'm Michaela, I'm Head of Content at Wolfgang Digital. I'm here with Lisa, she's our SEO content specialist. And look, I don't think any of us could really call ourselves an AI search specialist just yet, but Lisa has been leading the way on some of our first wins in AI search for our clients. So I think Lisa's about as close as it gets, I say. So what are we going to be talking about today? Well, kind of two things. First, we're going to be talking about organic search, like what is going on there. If you've been looking at your numbers and maybe feeling a bit confused, you're not on your own, so you're in good company here. And next, we're going to talk about AI search. Where does that fit into all of this? Lisa's going to take us through some key things we've learned in our first campaigns in AI search for our clients. So let's jump right in. So I guess as the title of the talk promised, what we have been seeing in Q1 was something really, really big, like a big difference to what we would normally see, which is an organic traffic decline. When we looked at our client base, organic traffic is down on average 12%, which is not a small number, and you'll know this if you're the one who's had to try and explain this to your boss or your board. But what was really kind of strange was when we dug deeper into it, we found that of all of those clients where organic traffic was down, for 68% of them, their visibility was actually up. So this was really strange because, before I move on, I guess just a quick definition of visibility. So visibility is essentially share of voice, but for Google. So of all the organic clicks available for your target keywords, how many are landing on your website? So traffic and visibility, like these are two metrics that historically would always move together. It was like a law of physics. If you increased your visibility, you would increase your organic traffic. But now, for the first time ever, we're seeing these two metrics move in opposite directions. So I guess for the next 15 minutes or so, I want to dig into this a little bit and look into why this is happening and what it means for how we think about organic going forward. But before we get into the why, let's just have a quick reality check, because you might be sitting there and thinking, well, this is just Wolfgang's clients, or this is just an Irish thing. But of course it's not, it's an everywhere thing. There have been multiple stories and studies on this over the last while. The numbers vary across how much organic search has declined, but the direction is the same. So I guess I want to sort of reassure you, if you've been looking at your numbers and you're seeing a growth slow, or maybe a noticeable decline has started to happen already, reassuring you that you're not the exception, you are probably the rule in that. Is that reassuring? I don't know if that's actually reassuring at all. But we'll continue on. Look, so like this brings us to the question, why is organic traffic falling? We looked into it, we found 3 reasons that really stood out to us as to what was causing this. So the first reason is, of course, the SERP has evolved. Let's look at an example here. So we've got a good commercial query, Best Pension Ireland. I ran this into Google search before the webinar. What do we see? Let's have a look. So we've got our 4 sponsored ads at the top. We have an AI overview coming up here, which mentions Zurich Life there. I'll come back to that later. And then after a few scrolls, we've got some organic listings starting, some more paid areas behind that. But really, like you can see that before you even get to the first organic result, you've got to scroll past your 4 ads and an AI overview before you even see it. And you could be ranking number 1 for that term. So I mentioned AI overviews. They're now appearing in roughly 1 in 3 searches. And that's important because SEER Interactive actually did a great study on this to show the impact of AI overviews. So they found that when AI overviews appear, organic click-through rate drops by about 60%. So you could be ranking higher than ever, but with all of these elements in the SERP now, you could be still losing clicks. And none of this is accidental. So, you know, Google isn't just like messing around, trying out new things in the SERP. Google is doing exactly what it needs to do commercially, because recently, actually just last month, eMarketer had forecast that Meta is about to overtake Google as the world's largest digital advertiser. And that's for the first time in 14 years of tracking this. And 14 years, like that's a long time. That's, you know, as long as most of us have been in the industry. So now, like Google, the king of advertising, it looks like Meta is maybe about to take that crown. So of course, Google is looking at this really closely now. So what does Google do? Well, Google looks to its one key piece of real estate that it owns, and that's the Google search results page. Every single pixel on this page that isn't sponsored is a slot that could be making them money. So Google is looking really closely at that, and that's why we're seeing the SERP evolve in the way it has with, you know, the proliferation of sponsored ads. So if organic was never Google's priority, well, like it's even less so now. That's for sure. So we'll move on then to reason 2. Your measurement is broken. Like again, we were kind of deep diving the data once we saw that headline stat of organic traffic being down so significantly in Q1. So we were moving around GA4 for all the different clients, and what we were seeing a lot of was a lot of this. We were seeing some very large, kind of suspiciously large buckets of direct traffic. So when we looked into those direct traffic buckets, we saw lots of URLs like this, these deep landing pages. These were the kind of URLs that were driving a lot of that traffic. So we've got your like URLs with categories, subcategory, and you know, product at the end of it. Basically URLs that you know someone's not typing into their URL bar. So when we looked into this, we call this dark direct. When we looked into this, we saw that about 60% of our clients' direct buckets were actually dark direct. So that is essentially direct traffic that has somehow been misattributed from another channel and dumped into direct. So 60%, so more than half. So what is causing this to happen? Well, of course, if you're in Europe, you'll be very familiar with cookie consent. That was the big thing, first of all. So when a user visits a website, they will be asked straight away if they want to accept or decline cookies. And any user that will decline those cookies will be removed, like tracking will be removed, and they'll be bumped into the direct bucket. Even sometimes if users just take a bit too long to click one way or the other, GA can get a bit confused and also dump it into direct. So that's causing real issues in GA at the moment. The other strange thing we found was SRS-LTID, and we hadn't come across this really before. So this SRS-LTID parameter is like a parameter that Google Merchant Center appends to the end of URLs so that it can be tracked as Google Shopping, which is like totally fine, except we saw loads of these SRS-LTID parameters appearing in the 10 blue links, like normal organic search results, loads of them. So basically what this is doing is it's taking actual genuine organic users and organic sessions and either popping them into Google Shopping in Google Analytics, or just getting completely confused as to what's going on and popping it into direct as well. So with the SERP changes, you know, the ads, the AI overviews, the squeezing of organic, and you know, this measurement issue that we're all trying to deal with, like we have to ask the question: how do we know what the size of the organic opportunity actually is? Well, luckily we have been monitoring this for many years at Wolfgang. So this is going back to 2019. This was from our online retail report, where we looked at all of our e-commerce clients, and we found that organic drives 35% of all e-commerce revenue, with paid driving 20%. Fast forward now to 2026, you can see those two have completely flipped. It's like a mirror image. So we've got organic driving now 23% of e-commerce revenue, with paid driving 36%. So everything we've talked about up until now, the changing SERP, the measurement issues, this is the result of that. It's real money being moved from one channel into another channel, a paid channel. And yet, let's not just kind of skip over that last metric there. 23% of e-commerce revenue still comes from organic search, despite all of these issues that we're facing. And that's the most conservative read that we have. That's the amount that GA4 is actually willing to show you. If we adjust for everything being misattributed to direct or shopping, it's a lot higher. So organic, you have to conclude from this, is far from dead. It's not even close, but it is a lot harder to see, that is for sure. And then, as if all of that wasn't enough, we've got the small issue of the biggest shift in how users find information online, which is AI search, or GEO, or AEO, or whatever you're having yourself. This is the third reason why we're seeing organic decline in the way it is. But it's also the reason why more than 1,000 of you have signed up for this webinar, because we all know that it's the biggest opportunity we've had in organic search in a long time. So it's actually super exciting. So what role is this playing? Well, I guess that when we sort of move away through all the hype and the headlines, there's two things we know about AI search for sure, based on our own research and our own data. The first is that 30% of Irish adults are using ChatGPT to research their purchases, and it's more than just research as well. We found 18% are actually taking those recommendations and making the purchase off the back of them. So it's really mainstream behaviour at this point. This research was from last year, so it would be, I say, a good bit higher now as well. On the other side of that, we've got the fact that actually only 0.23% of e-commerce website traffic is coming from AI tools. So it's this strange, issue where like AI search is everywhere and nowhere. The behaviour is absolutely real, but we all have to accept that the clicks may never follow. And this isn't just like a measurement gap that's going to be fixed at some point, because what's happening when somebody does this in ChatGPT, it isn't a search session that ends with a click. It's a conversation that ends with a recommendation. So that click is just never going to come. What the user might do is they might get a recommendation of a brand, they might get a short list, they might visit your site directly, which would be a genuine direct visit, and that would be a great win. They might visit a competitor's site directly, or they might not visit a website at all. They might just walk into your store the next day ready to buy. But that is the value of being visible. So the right question to ask here isn't how do we capture more AI search traffic, because most of it isn't traffic. The right question is, are we visible where our customers are searching? So let me step back for a second and just recap a little bit. We've got two stories here that are leading us to one conclusion. On one side, we've got our old search. We've got clicks getting squeezed and we've got traffic being undercounted. And on the other side, we've got our new search. We've got the research is happening, but the clicks may never follow. So both of these stories are leading us to the same conclusion, which is that traffic is no longer a reliable signal. The metric that's going to tell you where you actually stand in the market now is visibility, because that's just the way it's gone now. The traffic isn't really coming. Visibility is what we need to focus on, and I think we need to shift our KPIs in that direction. But if visibility is the metric, visibility where? Because this used to be such a simple question. It was Google, that was the answer. But now it's, the whole landscape has exploded, where we've got Google, we've got Gemini, we've got ChatGPT, we've got Claude, we've got Perplexity, then we've got AI mode, that's another thing, and AI overviews. Like, where do we focus? So if you're starting to spiral, we don't need to spiral. It's okay, because we'll just remember how LLMs actually work, because most of the time they will search. So here's an example. I asked the same kind of query as I did before in Google. What's the best pension in Ireland? I popped this into ChatGPT. So when ChatGPT is considering this, it doesn't, think of an answer from its memory. or just make something up. Well, maybe sometimes it does. But what it does is it runs a query fan out. So it basically breaks this up into multiple different searches and it pings them all out in less than a second. So for example, best pension providers Ireland, Irish pension fund performance. It goes and visits all of the pages that are ranking for these queries. It extracts the content from them, it synthesizes it and then delivers it back as an AI response. And this is what it looks like in reality, so the query again was best pension in Ireland. We've got Zurich again appearing really prominently right across this ChatGPT response. And this is Zurich again, this is their really strong SEO content foundation that's doing the work for them here, just like it did at the beginning when we saw the Google version of this response. So ultimately, the pages that rank well in traditional search are often, not all the time, but often the pages that the AI reads. So your Google investment or your SEO investment, it is feeding two engines now instead of one. And that's why we're so strong on the point that SEO is the first step in AI visibility. So I'll start to leave you now with this. We're in this really strange hybrid world at the moment where we've got traditional search running alongside AI search at the same time. And the only reason we're in this weird hybrid world at the moment is because Google hasn't figured out how to monetize AI search yet. However, there are very strong signals that they are getting there, and I would wager they probably have got there now, because at their Google I/O conference last week, they spoke a lot about AI mode and really talked about how over the summer this is going to be woven more and more into the default search experience on Google. So at the moment, you sort of have to click into AI mode to activate it. That's not going to be the case anymore. AI mode is going to be coming to the user. As I said, this hybrid world that we're in, that has been kind of useful because it's given us a bit of a runway to figure all of this AI search stuff out. But that runway is shorter now than it was 2 weeks ago. So I do firmly believe that the cost of starting this now is much lower than when that runway ends. Which brings me to Lisa, so that while everything I've said is true, SEO is the foundation, it's not the ceiling. We've had to kind of figure out this whole layer on top of it over the last number of months from scratch. Some of it has worked quicker than we thought it would. Some of it has really surprised us. But Lisa has some great insights and she's going to share with you some key learnings that we've had doing this for real on real brands over the last 3 to 6 months. So Lisa, over to you.
Thank you, Michaela. So since we've launched our AI search service, a couple of patterns have emerged since, some of them kind of completely challenging assumptions that we had in search over the years. We've translated that into 5 lessons that we'd like to take you through today. So the first one being strong SEO unfortunately doesn't always equal AI visibility. 1 prompt can replace the funnel. 3, there's as much opportunities for the smaller brands, the Davids, as there is the Goliaths, the bigger brands. AI visibility isn't always guaranteed, and unlike traditional SEO, results arrive fast. The first lesson, good SEO doesn't always equal good AI visibility, was probably the hardest one to come to terms with as an SEOer. But for example, when we ask Google, how much of my income should I set aside for savings? Zurich kind of is dominating the SERP there with the #1 position, the coveted spot, as well as the AI overview. But when we run the same query into AI, we're nowhere to be seen. So if strong SEO foundations like Zurich have aren't always translating into AI visibility, then bad SEO definitely won't get you there either. For years we've treated Google rankings as the gold standard for visibility, but in AI search, ranking #1 no longer guarantees you'll be seen. And we know this through studies. So a study by Ahrefs across 15,000 prompts revealed that there was only a 12% of URLs cited by ChatGPT, Perplexity and Copilot actually ranked in Google's top 10. So then that begs the question, where is the other 88% gone? Why can we dominate on Google but yet disappear into AI search? It's not down to one thing, but a lot of it is traditionally websites were built for humans, for the human eye. So usually when you land on a homepage, it's flashy imagery, nice branding, which is a JavaScript-led experience. So it looks great to the user, but what the bots see is on the right-hand side. So just a bit of text. So with this example of Nike's homepage, it looks great, but all it's telling AI about is their summer sale. So they're missing that crucial opportunity to introduce their brand from the get-go. Yeah, we're seeing a transition now where you need to start thinking about your homepage as more of a landing page for AI. And yeah, Google's also signaling this as well. So late April, they updated the web.dev site to add in recommendations on how to actually optimize for agent-friendly websites. So it's a nod that it's becoming increasingly more important as things progress. But that's all well and good, but what do we actually do about it? So at Wolfgang, this is what it looks like in a nutshell. So firstly, SEO stays the strong foundation. Because AI rely on the same signals we've already invested in. So rankings, authority, and crawlability still really matter. And then second would be a newer one. So your prompt strategy becomes the new keyword research. So yeah, we're mapping out the high intent questions your customers are asking AI tools. We're moving beyond keywords and into real decision-making contextual prompts. And then third, we're going to measure both, but separately. So we're going to measure organic visibility, but on top of that, we're layering in AI presence, sentiment, and citations to get a full kind of view on how you're performing across both in this hybrid world. So yeah, that takes me on to my second lesson. One prompt can replace the whole funnel, which sounds quite scary, but it's actually not. So yeah, as marketers, we're used to the traditional search funnel on the left-hand side. It gives us many opportunities to nurture our consumers right from an awareness right down to the decision. But this behavior doesn't transfer into AI simply because of the efficiency of the tool. So users are willing to provide much more context because they know the more that they provide, the better the answer they get. So searches move from best cordless vacuum to I need a cordless vacuum for a small apartment with a dog that sheds a lot. I'm based in Dublin. I need it this week. I don't want to spend more than €250. What's my best option? So then the question is, when the funnel collapses into one conversation, how do we optimize for that? Well, we're going to look at intent because not all users are entering at the same level. Some are at discovery and some are ready to buy. So we've divided that into three audiences that are using AI to optimize towards. So the researcher, the evaluator, and the decider. And the researcher has the most overlap with our typical SEO content, so our blog, so like the what is type of content where you can describe your products and your offering. But the most opportunity, the people that are further down the funnel are the evaluator and the decider. And evaluator content has always been around, particularly with SaaS companies. It's the comparison content like us versus them, which you see on the left. But like the Nike homepage, it's full of JavaScript, so the little checked boxes, which AI can actually see. So we've seen through our AI visibility monitoring that the websites that are doing well have this type of content. So it's listicle style comparison content, but if you notice, like the words are on the page instead of the check the boxes. And then for the decider, so yeah, ultimately AI is a tool as well. It wants people to keep coming back and back to use it. So how is it going to recommend the best product? Well, it looks at trust signals like your reviews and the likes of Reddit, like how are people discussing your brand. So best practice here from our lovely client Millie's. They have a really hygienic Trustpilot account of nearly 17,000 reviews and an average score of 4.8 out of 5. And they're replying to all of those reviews. So they have a team behind it. And from that, they're awarded a 98% sentiment score from AI. So anytime that AI is recommending Millie's, it's nearly always positive. And then, yeah, on to the third lesson, opportunities for David, threats for Goliath. So yeah, we're seeing a leveling of the playing field. In AI search, clarity can beat scale, so it's a real opportunity for the challenger brands. So it means being crystal clear on who you help, what you do best, and why you're different. So the more unique your story is, the easier it is for AI to understand you, trust you, and recommend you. So it really needs that kind of context. And this is also an opportunity for the Goliath, but it does need to be realized. So where Goliath might fall behind is not providing that context and over relying on the JavaScript heavy pages that look really impressive, but AI can't access. And then, yeah, letting important product information sit inside any animations or interactive modules. And to adapt, we'd put that into clear, crawlable text, not just visuals on the page. And yeah, it's getting specific about your use cases and how you can actually help the consumer. Yeah, so this is kind of 3 things that you can apply to all websites. So who you are, this is what AI needs to know about your website. So perform the stranger test. So pretend you're a stranger and land cold on your homepage. Are you able to tell from that who you are and why you exist? And if you're not, AI can't either. Product authority, do you have a bank of content that's backed up by your internal experts, showing your expertise, getting those words on the page through content. And then, yeah, we're seeing the resurgence of the unique selling point, the USP. So you need to be able to say, we're the only ones who X in the sentence, and make it really clear on your homepage, across every page on your site, as well as all your marketing messaging. Because yeah, Google loves that, or AI really loves that uniqueness. And yeah, with Millie's, when we launched their AI search campaign, we saw a small retailer was doing really well. So we performed a competitor bench analysis against our homepages, and we saw when we investigated theirs, we saw that they had clearly laid out like who their brand was, who they served, and why they were different. So we made 3 changes to our homepage, and from that, in 2 weeks, we had a 246 uplift in AI search visibility. So it helped the overall prompt strategy, not just kind of the branded prompts. And then the 4th one, AI visibility isn't always guaranteed. This is a bit techy, so stay with me. So yeah, you could assume if you're seeing referral traffic from ChatGPT in your GA4 that bots can properly access your site, but it's not always the case. And it's because AI is able to reference your brand in 2 ways. So it can do a direct crawl, which we like. AI bots can visit your site properly, all your content. But it can also access your site through third-party discovery. So if you're linked from the likes of Reddit or Wikipedia or any news articles, it can also source you there as well. So that's how that might be happening. And that's because this used to be good practice to block bots. Because yeah, they inflated analytics, stress servers, and caused security risks. So Googlebot and Bingbot were kind of considered good bots, and everything else was bad bots. But since the rise of AI search, we now want to let in some of those bots. And we've seen this with some of our clients who signed up. We noticed that they were getting no hits from the ChatGPT bot, which is kind of critical problem. So when we looked into it, we had to fix their robots.txt file. And from that fix, we could see the bots all flooding in and crawling as we wanted. And we looked into this across all our SEO clients, and we saw that 19% had this issue. So nearly 1 in 5. So you can see it's quite kind of dangerous to just assume it without looking into that. And the 5th one, yeah. So unlike traditional SEO, the results arrive fast. So yeah, if you work with us or you have an SEO team, you're used to hearing, I did this really cool thing, but come back in 3 to 4 months and I'll tell you how the results went. And that's just how organic search works. It's dependent on Google's really long crawl cycles, and building that authority takes time as well. But within AI, we're seeing results that could happen within 1 to 4 weeks. So it's kind of moving like a paid channel as opposed to organic. And that comes down to how tight you have your prompt strategy. So if your prompt strategy is like following best practice, we can see all the prompts where our URL has been considered, but it hasn't been surfaced, it hasn't been selected for that citation, but some of our competitors have. So then we'll perform that competitor gap analysis on our page versus their page to see what we're missing. Then we're going to enhance and ultimately beat the competitor page. And then we're tracking in the next couple of days until we win that citation. So the whole loop runs in days, not months. It's just another example with Millie's. So for their priority brand Nioxin, we had no visibility for where to buy Nioxin System 2 kit in Ireland. So we optimized the page after our competitor gap analysis. And then 4 days later, we had won that citation with a nice first listing there. And we've held that citation then ever since. So this is all well and good, but what about the money? So for Millie's, we could see we had launched the optimization campaign in March. And since that, in April and May, we're seeing that monthly AI revenue has more than doubled compared to the previous month. So it's more now matching peak Q4 months, so November and December, which is great. So yeah, that concludes my 5 lessons. So I'll hand you back to Michaela for some next steps.
Great. Thanks very much, Lisa. Fantastic stuff. Kind of just wrapping up now, I guess. If we want to leave you with, say, 3 things that you can do tomorrow morning when you get back to your desk. First of all, SEO is your foundation. I think everybody should remember that. I think, you might be tempted to look at a decline in organic traffic, which we know is not a reliable signal anymore, and be tempted to cut your SEO budget. But we know that SEO is the foundation for not just traditional search, but AI search as well. So cutting SEO would essentially cut 2 engines at once. So that was the first key point. The second is to change what you measure. So organic traffic is telling us less and less, whereas we know visibility, that's the metric now that's telling us more about where we sit in our market. So moving your KPIs towards visibility, I think, is a great move. And then number 3, add the AI layer on top of that. So build your prompt strategy, check you're accessible. Are you one of the 1 in 5 that's unknowingly blocking bots and you didn't realize it? And then start measuring your AI visibility properly. There are lots of tools that do this really well. So that's about it. Thank you so much for sticking with us for this whole thing. We will send around the recording over the next couple of days. If we have time, we have a little bit of time, I'll check in to see if we've got any questions coming through. So yeah, some there already. So a question on visibility. So how do you start measuring visibility? What tools do you use? So for us, there's 2 layers to measuring visibility. Unfortunately, there's not one magic number. You've got the traditional side and you've got your AI search side. So and you need both. So on the traditional SEO side, we use SEO Monitor to track visibility, and so this is brilliant. You set it up, you make sure that it all kind of comes back to your keyword list, making sure that you've got a really well set up keyword list that you want to track that's relevant to your commercial goals. If you've got your list set up right, then you get really meaningful data in terms of your visibility. And visibility is such a great metric because you can see how it's a competitive metric. So you can see how you're doing versus your competitors really, really clearly. So that's a super one. Then on the AI visibility side, I'd say, you're all really interested in that one. Tons of tools, too many tools I think have popped up over the last couple of years. We did a load of research ourselves last year to try and pick the best one that matched us as an agency. We landed on Scrunch AI. It's a really good tool. We liked it because it had a really great data layer underneath it. But it also had a really nice UX to go with it, and maybe the most important thing for us was that it had a really exciting looking roadmap ahead, and there were a lot of betas in there that we wanted to be first to get our hands on. So really important. So I guess you'd have to do your research on that one. prompt strategies, that's a good one. How do you build a prompt strategy? This would be one for you, Lisa. And where do the prompts come from?
Yeah. So I'd say your best asset is probably the people already in your company. So like the likes of your salespeople, the people that are dealing with customers directly, like they're there for those kind of conversations that people are having before they buy. So be kind of identifying those prompts, because people are using AI more like how they would speak to a salesperson as opposed to like how we type on Google. So they have that information in their brain. So they'd be the first kind of protocol that we'd go to. And then it goes back to like the three audience types, like kind of funding questions around the researcher, the evaluator, and the final the
decider.
Yeah. So that's kind of where we like how we'd recommend starting. So hopefully that information's already in your company. It's just about surfacing it, and maybe starting with like 50 to 100 prompts. Going from there, just check how you're getting on. And yeah, you want these to be centered around kind of your business driving products or your keywords. So yeah, hopefully that answers that question.
And I think this might be another one for you, Lisa, about the evaluator audience. So we were talking about those like comparison articles. How many of these articles should we be creating for the evaluator audience?
Yeah, good question. So this is a quality over quantity. Sorry. You definitely like want to take your time with this. You want to like a gold standard piece of content that again is funded like from your salespeople, like those questions you're answering, because you want to get those answers on the page on your website, so you can be cited whenever that really kind of contextual specific prompt is asked. So yeah, it's about like putting kind of a bit of time and effort into it and one kind of gold standard piece of content. And the other big thing as well is you really need to be unbiased, because as I said, like it's a tool as well, so it can spot the biased thing really quickly. So you will have to talk about competitors really positively, or like in a way that's going to help whoever's reading it.
Yeah, I guess truthfully is the thing. Yeah,
just be honest.
Yeah, it's like difficult, but yeah, being like as objective as you can. Otherwise, it just won't fly.
Yeah, it's really easy to spot when it's not done well.
Yeah. And do I have time? I do. If I don't, I want to do it anyway, guys. So I'm hoping somebody would ask about B2B. Does it work for B2B? Yeah. So yeah, I love B2B, so that's why I wanted to answer this question. Honestly, in some ways, I think it works better for B2B. We know B2B buyers, they do so much research in their buying journey before they ever talk to a salesperson. So I think that research, like that is now happening inside AI tools. So if you're not surfacing in that conversation, I think you really risk not being on the short list at all for your buyers. So that's one element. And then like, I guess the other thing is that B2B users are probably like some of the early adopters of AI as well. So that's another reason why I think it's super important for B2B brands to be thinking really seriously about this. We do lots of work for B2B brands in the AI search space, in like finance and cybersecurity at the moment. So yeah, the details maybe of the prompt strategy might be a bit different, and like the content you create might be a bit different as well. But ultimately, like that optimization loop that Lisa talked about is essentially the same. So yeah, that's a great question. And what we'll do is with like other questions in there, what we might do is prepare a document maybe that we can send around after, because we'd love to answer some more of those questions that have come through. So keep an eye on your inbox for those. We'll send around a nice package of those answered questions for you. But for now, I think that's it. I think we should all get out to the sunshine again. So hope you enjoy your evenings, and we will hopefully see you soon. Thanks very much.
Thank you.